Welcome to the Middleware Tech YouTube channel. In this series, you'll learn about variable in Python. All code examples used in the videos will be available on GitHub. Let's get started.
Variable in Python. Now the thing is that there is two you may find some global variables also, so that I'll come into picture in case of functional programming. Now we are talking about variable in Python in object-oriented programming. In object-oriented programming, we have three types of variable in Python. Three types. What are those types? Number one, instance variable that just now I talked about. Number two is class variable. Sorry, I can say local variable. Number three, we defined it as a static variable. Static. So these three types of variable you will find in object-oriented programming inside a class. So we have to talk about this variable, these three types of variable, taking some other examples. Let me take some other examples because mobile I have used. Let me take some other object take an account object. We talk about take an account class. Okay, so class. Okay. So account class I'm going to define. So inside a class, you can have a default constructor you can declare. Okay, so declare a default constructor like def init. Already I told you default constructor. Single argument self default constructor inside the class, right? So here you can print something like print. This is default constructor. This is fine, right? Okay. Now you can define some method also. So define one method. So for account class, what type of method you will define, like open account, close account, or delete account, like so different delete account, one method, right? And self, and can write like print like, right? So right, so you can define some method. Now similarly, now how I'm going to call it, you have to create an object of the class, write a structure of class obj equal to class. Fine. Using an object I have to call those methods. Fine, so I'm calling here a obj dot delete account, or if I'm going to define another one method, open account, one method is there, self, right? And you can use this method name, right? Now this I'm not completed. Let me write, and the code will come like this as we are learning from the time being. A obj dot open account, like this, right? This is the basic structure. I'm using a separate example, account, just to talk about here. Okay, now I'm saying about these three types of variable, variables, instance variable, local variable and this class variable. How I'm going to define, right? So let me define first one instance variable. So here, already I told you that instance variable always be declared inside a constructor. Instance variable is always declared inside a constructor. So this is my default constructor. So if I'm declaring any variable inside this, that will be one type of instance variable, right? So what I'm declaring here, I'm writing here instance variable already declared using self. So I'm using here self dot d equal to 30. This is an instance variable. You have to remember this. Huh? This is instance variable. So how this local variable look like? Let me write one local variable. I'm writing the local variable. Local variable scope is always inside a method. And for local variable, you'll never use this self. So, right? Instance variable scope is class. I'm writing one local variable. Okay, here. The variable C equal to 20. This is an example of local variable. Right now, if I want to print this local variable inside this, then I can use print something local is, what do you know? Okay, assume I'm using plus concatenation operator. For concatenation operator, this is int, right? So you cannot write int str, you have to use here, right? This is the local variable. Local variable scope is always inside a method. This is instance variable. Instance variable it always declared using self. For local variable, there is no self. Its scope is throughout the class. Its scope is only inside the method. Similarly, we have another one variable. This variable, if I can declare one variable here also, here, outside method, right? If I declare a particular variable like a equal to 40, so this variable is called a static variable. Sometimes we use the term called class variable, right? Now, these three types of variable has some properties. You need to know about these properties. See here, three types of variable is there: static or class variable, instance variable, and local variable. Now, each and every variable has some properties, right? So we should know those properties if I'm going to work, right? Okay. So let's talk about this properties step by step. Okay. So based on these examples only, okay, I'm going to talk about first. I'm going to talk about instance variable. Talk about some points about instance variable. So how am I going to define this instance variable? So if I have to define the instance variable, then I can say that that instance variable that for every object a separate copy of instance variable is created. If I'm getting because instance variable is defined inside constructor using self. Self is used to point current object attribute. So if I'm going to create 10 object, in 10 object you'll find 10 instance variable d. Okay, so first point, if I want to say from where that instance variable it is defined inside the constructor. Second point, if I want to say, then I'll say that, for every object, a separate copy of instance variable will be created. For every object, a separate copy of instance variable would be created. And I want to say third point about this instance variable, that this instance variable always declared using self. It is always declared using. So that's it. I can say this 3 point is enough, right? Its scope is complete class, right? Right. So, and if I want to print the value of this instance variable, then already have created this object. And create this object, then you can print here, print can print this instance variable using self.d. That's it. Oh, sorry, object name a obj dot attribute name. And okay, next I'm talking about local variable. C is a local, this is a local variable. If I want to say 1 point about local variable, then what I'll say? Talking about local variable. So say some point about local variable. Local variable. I had only 1 point about local variable. So just now I told you that that local variable is that variable that is declared inside a method without using self. Right? So how I'm going to define any variable? Any variable declared inside a method, declared inside a method without using self. Without using self. It's called a local variable. That's it. That's it. One line declaration. Right? Now, how I'm going to print this local variable? If I want to print this local variable, then I'm using this. Right? So let me execute this instance variable and local variable is printing or not. Control C. Open, come to your editor and create one class name. Give this class name as a variable demo. It should okay, it should automatically format. Fine. So this is, I'm coming to the static variable. I've not told you anything about a static variable. I'm coming into this. So this is I've not defined it still. Now I'll do it. These are the 3 objects we have created. Save. Now, okay, first save it. File, save as. I'm saving in the same location and make it variable demo. His file name is account.py. Okay. Now already I told this is a default constructor. This default constructor initializing the instance variable and hit method obj.d. You're going to print. So what is the problem? For the time being, assume I'm going to print here. Not printed anything, right? So print something here. Like the instance will as you have to use an str because already I told you last day, right? Variable, if I'm going to concatenate string, you have to use that str function to convert it in string. Then only you can concatenate using. So self d. Fine, no error should come. File save. That's fine. And just execute it. Yes, so this is constructor, fine. 30, you're going to print where this is printing the local variable. The local variable gets printed. Local variable is 20. Sorry, 20. So, okay, this is the value actually 30 it is printing. Instance variable. In the delete account, you're going to print the local variable. Local variable gets printed. And the open account, you're printing the instance variable gets printed. Now see why I have printed the instance variable once again here, because instance variable scope is in complete class. Instance variable declared here, correct? And that instance variable you're going to select from here, right? So instance variable scope is completely class. That's why I'm given the instance variable here. But local variable scope is only inside the method, and I'm not using any self. Working fine, no issues, right? Let's come to the third variable. That is our static variable. Okay, let's talk about third variable, static variable. Static variable. Okay, fine. Now, static variable, what is this very static variable? Why I need a static variable? How I can access this static variable? And static has a very important features. The static variable, very, very important because of its some good characteristics. Now it has another one name called class variable also. It has a name called class variable also. Okay. Now what are the features of a static variable, right? So that we are going to explore one by one. So first point is that if I want to access an instance variable from a class, okay, how I can access the instance variable? If I want to access an instance variable from a class, how I can access? First, I have to create an object of the class, then I can access, because here I'm going to access instance variable here, correct? So if I want to access an instance variable, how I can access? I must have to create an object of the class. Then only I can access instance variable.
One thing, sorry.
Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, I was trying
Yes,
this on
please.
the Spider actually, but I can see that my code is running, but I cannot get the output.
Okay.
It's
So
just saying
I'll
run file.
resolve. Okay, I'll resolve this error. Let me complete this part, then I'll give a break. That
Okay,
time I'll
sure.
resolve the error. Okay, so let me complete it and then I'll go for break. After that, in the break time, I'll interact with this. Okay, now I'm talking about static variable. Okay, now what I find here, I'm going to access instance variable. How we can access instance variable? Creating an object of the class. How we can access instance variable. How? Solution is question. Solution is creating instance of a class. This is the only one solution I can access instance variable. Now the question is there any other option to access a variable without creating an object of a class? Can we access variable without creating an object of a class? That is the question. If this is the question, can you access a variable without creating an object of a class? If this is a question, then solution is static. Then solution is static. That means static variable we can access without creating an object of the class. First point we got. First point we got. We can access static variable without creating an object of a class. First point. Now, first of all, which is a static variable? A static variable is always declared here. So can I use static here? S-T-A-T-I-C, static A, like this? No, that is the syntax for Java. In this Python, if you declare a particular variable inside a class, outside method, that is by default counted as a static variable. Again, I'm saying in Python, if I declare a variable inside a class, outside method, that is by default static variable. So it is declared inside the class and outside the method. That's it. So it's a static variable. Fine. So now how I can access this static variable? I told you that why static come into picture. I can access static variable without creating an object of the class. Let's see how it is. So in this code, this is my code, right? So I have just creating the static variable here. Just see here, please. This is a local variable. This is a static variable. A equal to 40. I'm saying that this is an static variable, right? So how I can access this static variable? How? Using class name. I don't have to create an object to access the static variable. What is the class name? Account. So just see here, please. Right. Printf. Int. Is the class name? And right here. The static variable is class. If you're using class, fine noises. This is a variable, right? A str symbol you have to use. Concatenation. Count. Dot class name. Just see here how I'm going to access class name. It is not an object. It's a class name. Class name dot variable name. Variable name is A. A is a static variable. That's it. Static variable will always access using class name without getting an object. Yes, let me execute it. Yes, fine, working fine, noises. Make some space. Use some space here. File, save it. Run. Yes, it's working fine. So that is one property, static variable. Fine. So we got this. It's working fine. So this is, I've given two properties for a static variable here. Fine. But this is a common property, right? One of the important property of a static variable that is generally used in most of the programming that I have not yet given. The point is that we have another one property for a static variable that that the static variable value can be shared by multiple objects. This is an very important property because for this property, lots of application they generate unique ID for their object. They use static this property. So let's understand this property for a static variable that static variable can be shared by multiple object. Very important property for a static. So how it is, right? How a static variable value can be shared by multiple object. So let's understand it using a program, because in the same program, if I say,
One
let's
second.
understand this using it. Yes,
Amit, you mentioned that it can be accessed using multiple object. You meant to say that by multiple method as well? So here you have defined that A is equal to 40 at the starting inside the class, outside the method. But and also, can I use that A variable inside any of these methods? That means inside delete account or open account.
Okay, fine. So let me write it here. I'm just inside this. Just here, please. Inside this, I'm going to write print static variable inside delete count. It's static variable inside delete account. If I'm going to print plus sphere, like this, file, save it. Right? Yes, just see here, please. I'm printing the static variable A inside data count. Okay. File, execute. A is not defined. Static variable is not accessible inside your method. Okay. Can I try it inside this method also? Try this. I'm accessing the static variable only. File, save it. it is not accessible inside a method. See, open account, it is not accessible. Now the question is that how I can access a static variable inside a method. We can access. I'm coming into that after some time. There's an attribute called CLS. Okay.
But inside the
I'll come. Yes. So let me check it is working in the constructor or not. Yes, please. Control X, check. Control V. Save it. File. Save. So static variable I want to access inside constructor. Static variable I want to access inside a constructor. Just see here, please. It is not accessible inside the constructor also. Why? Just see here, please. Just see here, please. See, not available. Now, how I can access a static variable, right? So I'm coming into that after some time. There's an attribute called CLS. Using that, we'll do it. Fine. So if I want to access a static variable from the class, actually for the static, I'm coming into that. I'm not yet told still now about the property that how I'm going to access it. So right. So I can.
Amitabh, I have a doubt
Yes.
here. Like you access the static variable that is outside the methods using account.a, right? So that is
Okay.
account class is pointing towards the variable a, right?
Correct.
So can it be used like here we have set a parameter such as self, which is used to point to the variables. So can we use self here to access the static variable, or we have to use the class name that is account?
No. How I can access a static variable? To access the static variable, I can access the static variable inside a static method. Okay, and we have to use one of the decorator that is called @class method. So I'm coming into that after some time. There's 3 types of method is there inside a class. I'm talking about only 3 types of variable. How I can access this static variable? This is static variable I can access using a separate method with the help of a decorator called @class method. So I'm coming into this. Let me complete, then I'm coming back. So for the time being, I'm just going to focus on the 3 types of variable only. Okay, and let me complete, then I'll come into the questions once again. I talked about local variable. I talked about instance variable. Now I'm talking about static variable. For the static variable, I have given only 2 properties. For a static variable, I have given only 2 properties, these 2. Third one I have not yet completed. So we'll complete this property. Then we'll talk about 3 types of method: instance method, local method, class method, and static method. I'm coming into that. So before coming into this, I will take a break for 10 to 15 minutes, and then we'll move with us properties. I'm not already talked about this 2 property. And after this discussion, you'll find all the things will be clear. Let me complete all the methods and variable declaration inside a class. Then you'll find everything will be clear. Fine, guys. So what I'll do is that I will take a break for 10 to 15 minutes, and so talking about a static variable in Python. When I say static variable, that means I want to access a static variable using class name. Static variable is declared inside a class, outside method, right? So another next point, and this attribute we talked about, this one, that static variable can be shared with multiple objects. So let's talk about this property using a separate example. How a static variable value can be shared by multiple objects. What does it mean by this? So let's understand using an example this property, last property. So to understand this this property, I'm using another one example, not including everything in the same example. Try to execute another one example, try to understand this. Assume you have a class employee. Okay. And inside this employee class, you have one static variable, this equal to 10. AA is a static variable inside this employee class. Fine. Okay. So if it is an employee class, so already we know that we can have some constructor as well as method. You can have parameterized constructor. If employee class, you can have parameterized constructor inside a class. That you can, that already know. Assume you have instance variable. Already we know instance variable we declared like this, empid equal to eid, because it's a parameterized constructor, the self should come, comma, you should have eid. Similarly, you can define another one, assume self emp name equal to, you have to define this name as ename. You can declare the variable e. Okay. Now inside this class, I'm declaring one method. Okay. So define one method like one. That's it. And one method, it is fine. A method I have to define, right? So for define one method with that, you have to increase the value of this static variable. It's a static variable, right? So how I can access the static variable inside a method? Just now some question came. If I want to access the static variable inside the method, you can use class name employee.a. Already I told you that static variable we generally access using class name. I told I still now I'll come to different types of methods inside a class after some time. So for the time being, I'm talking about only this property. This is my purpose now. For this, I'm just doing this. So it's a class name employee.a equal to employee.a plus 1. I'm increasing the value of this static variable inside this method. Fine. Okay. And you can create another one method that is going to print the value. So you can write if in demo some method. Okay. Self and yeah, just printing that variable, just printing. And the printed value using employee class name. I'm talking about only a static variable, right? Okay. So just see here inside this class, constructed is a static variable. Just see here. This is a static variable, class variable. Now that in this method I have increased that value 1, and in this method I'm printing that static variable value. I'm interacting here with static variable using class name. Okay. Let me complete, then I'm coming to the question answer. Now here I'm creating an object of this employee. How do we know I'm creating an object of employee equal to of this employee. And since we have parameterized constructor, so we can use this parameterized constructor, employee ID, and employee name you can use as friend name. Now here you can print all the attribute value to get. So just print here a dot MKID. See. So for this A object, I'm printing that employee ID and employee name. Fine. So after that, I'm calling this method. Let's see here, please. A dot method one. I'm calling this method, and then I'm calling this print A dot print method in demo. It's a very simple one. Nothing is there. So let me see if it's working or not. So file, new file. Okay. So one thing we have static variable, and so we have total one constructor, two method, and outside this class, I have created an object of the class. That's completed, right? Then I'm printing this employee ID. I'm printing this employee name. I'm calling this method. I'm calling. Just see how what it's doing. File save. I have to save it using employee.py. Okay. Now, so ename, eid, ename save, file save, but it's giving some error. Let me check where is the error. Eid. Okay, so you can check if there is any indentation problem. Indentation problem is not there. If I'm going to define constructor, I use colon method. That's it. Save it. Okay, now let me execute. It's printing fine. Employee ID, employee name, and it's printing the value of 11. 11 is the value inside this object A. So inside the object, actually it was 10. After an increment, object value became 11. So what I find from here I find that static variable value is here 11. Correct? Because it is due to increment, value is 11. Fine. Now, we're talking about that static variable value can be shared by multiple objects. What does it mean by this? Right. So do one thing, create another one object. Here only, do here only, create another one object. The object name is B, equal to employee. I'm creating another one object. The employee ID is 1002, and the employee name is Srini. I'm going to take some other name. Fine. Now, if you want, you can print these details also, no issues. Object, right? Okay. Now what I'll do here is that let me call that let me call that object name is B, right? So B dot one. Okay, fine. Then I'm calling B dot print demo. Okay. Save file, save, and execute it once again. So just see here, please. That way I want to show. I told you that static variable value can be shared by multiple objects. This is a static variable value. Static variable value that got increment here, and it becomes 11. Right? Now, when I'm creating the second object, right? In the second object, it is not going to take the value of 11, value of 10. What is the value of here? What is the value of A? A equal to 10. Static variable value is 10 here. Once the increment is done, static variable value become 11. Correct? Static variable value A equal to 11. And but if you see here, I mean, same things should happen here also. Same thing should happen here also. Here it should happen A equal to 10 because I'm creating an object, and when I'm going to print after increment, that value should be A equal to 11. It should happen for this object also, but it is not the scenario. Scenario is that it becomes 12.
Yeah, but again, Amitabh, why the value is printing as employee ID is printing as 1001 and the name is Srini? It should have been 1002 and Naveen, I think.
Oh, yeah, okay. Actually, there's slight mistake. It should be.
Yeah, the 1A dot, it should be B dot, right?
You can save it, and yeah, right. Okay. Now the point is here only that when I'm creating an object after increment, it becomes 11. It should happen here also. After increment, it should become 11, but it is not like that. Why? Because static variable value can be shared by multiple object. What is the last value of the static variable in this object? It will take that value only. So the static variable value in the last object is 11. So it will take 11 here. And it becomes 12. So what is the value of a static variable in the last object? It will take that value and increase and becomes 12. So if I'm going to create the same thing for the third one, Control C, it should become Control V, it should become, assume it is C, and assume it is 3, assume, then assume. I don't need this instance variable for the time, but just for that. See, you can see it. So just save it, file save, and execute. Now see here, it becomes 13. It is not taking the value of 10. It is taking the last value. What is the last value? 12. And it becomes 13. Actually, that static variable value will be separately managed. And when I'm going to use static variable in your code, it will check what is the last value of the variable in the object that you have created. Last value of the static variable that you have created in the objects. We have total 3 objects. When you're creating the object C, it will check what is the last value of the static variable in the last created object. The last created object, the static variable value is 12. So it will take 12. After increment, it becomes 13. So this is a very important property, because when you're creating thousands of objects or lakhs of objects, and you're going to generate the ID for each object dynamically. In that scenario, this static variable is used a lot in our development environment, so that multiple objects can share this variable value and generate the ID for that particular product. This is one scenario, you can say.
Amit,
Right? Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sorry for the interruption. You said that that value will be keep on changing based on what we update in each object for static variable, right?
Okay.
Yeah. Is there any array that it stores the all the values whatever it is changed, and what is the original value like? Does it store like 11, 12, and 13 and 10 in a single array, or how do we call the previous value, or the entire value will be deleted and updated with 13? Isn't it?
No. It is not like that. Let me tell you, it is like that. I have instance variable static variable. Assume this is my static variable value is managed in a separate location, a equal to 10. Now assume you have multiple object. Assume this is obj1, and this is obj2, and this is obj3. So when you're creating multiple object, so static variable value is managed in a separate location. Now see, in this object we have a static variable value. Now the 10 is available on this object. Now what you have done, you have increased the value of in this object. You have increased the value of 10 to a equal to 11. So when I've increased the value in this object, so in where it is stored, the static variable value, it will replace the value with, earlier it was 10, now it is not going to calculate this 10, it is going to calculate 11. Okay, now, right, so the second object I'm going to create, it will check what is the last static variable value. Last static variable value is 11, so it will take that last static variable value and it will create that to 12 after increasing. So what is the last static variable value? 12, so it will be updated here as a 12 in a different location. Right? Now when I'm going to get the third object, what is the last static variable value? Last static variable value is 12, so it will increase that particular variable value and it becomes 13. So now it will update it here as a 13. So it is not an array, it's a different area. You can say that object is being shared by multiple, static variable value is shared by multiple object. So that will be managed like this, you can say.
So once it is changed, it will not be fallback or cannot be used with the previous values, right?
Once it is changed, you not cannot. You are saying that cannot be. Now in this object, this variable value is this only. But when you're creating a new object, that new object, this value will become. But in this object, you are not. That value is not getting changed. It is 12 only. When you're creating the next object will come, it will change. Like this way, what are the next object will come dynamically, the value will increase one by one, like this.
Okay. Yes.
As you have incremented.
Okay. Got it.
So it will be like this. So
Thank you.
that is that is the property that study is very good and important property that can be shared by multiple object. Right? Okay. So that we talked about these three variables, right? Still now I've talked about three variables that we can create inside a class. Already I told you that inside a class we can have three variables in object-oriented programming: instance variable, local variable, and static variable. And that we talked about using a separate examples. Correct.